principal said, oh, why don't you put Ayesha in sports day? So my dad said, yeah, she'll run sports day. And the first race I ran, actually never run in my life. We just played sports in boarding, but I'd never run in my life. So my dad said, this is an athletics race. You'll be standing in this lane and all you have to do is run fast. All he ever said to me, till the last race, he saw me last year at this time actually, when he saw me run my last race, he just said, don't look left or right, just run fast.
Yeah. Welcome to Success Decoded. I'm your host, Taylor Elizabeth, an emotional intelligence and self-development coach passionate about helping individuals uncover their true potential, build their confidence, and create meaningful success. This podcast is not just about achievements, titles, or material success. It's about exploring the deeper, often overlooked factors that contribute to extraordinary accomplishments. In each episode, I sit down with inspiring individuals from a variety of backgrounds to uncover their choices, habits, and mindsets that have shaped their journeys. Together, we explore the story behind the success, diving into resilience, emotional growth, curiosity, and other essential elements that often go unnoticed, but are crucial to living a truly fulfilled and impactful life. Get ready to decode the real keys to success, and let's embark on this enlightening conversation together. Today's guest is someone who redefines what it means to be resilient, dedicated, and purpose-driven. Ayesha Billimoria is not just an athlete, she's a movement. A 3-time national champion in the 200-meter sprint, once known as the fastest girl in India, and now a mentor, coach, and author inspiring countless of individuals across the globe. From dominating the track for 17 years to creating a legacy that empowers young girls in rural India, Ayesha's story is a testament to grit, determination, and the power of mindset. In this episode, we'll dive deep into her journey, from her early triumphs and struggles as an athlete to her evolution as a mentor and influencer. Together, we'll explore the strategies and philosophies that have guided her through life's toughest challenges, including sticking with her goals when it was easier to quit. Ayesha Billimoria, welcome to Success Decoded. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really thrilled. I love this setup. It's nice, it's soft, it's cozy.
Cozy, yeah. We're trying to create an environment because we're talking about something, I think, getting behind what success is, like really decoding it for people to make it relatable. And I think when people hear about success, they think about resilience.
Yeah.
And when you think about resilience, you think about an athlete. I mean, this is like the number one. I don't know, I have like Nike ads going or Adidas ads and like things like this going through my mind whenever I hear about that. But I have a feeling and we also think about the physical resilience, but I think it's much more than that. And I'm sure today you're going to talk all about that, because mental resilience, emotional resilience is a huge part of success as an athlete, right?
As part of success, I think you need to be resilient to keep going.
Absolutely.
If you want something bad enough, you want it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
You have to get it. Exactly. So what are the core virtues or the values that have guided you through your journey, and that have, especially when you've been tested the most?
I think one of my craziest virtues is I'm a bit of a ruffian, like hot-headed. I'm very aggressive, or at least I should say I used to be. There was no elegance in the sense elegance when you define it. I had no elegance of any sorts, not internal, not external. I was quite brash. As a young athlete, I think I was very, I had this different kind of madness that drove me. That's why I always wanted to be an Olympian, I think, because you needed to have that kind of madness. I don't think I ever had any sort of doubt or any sort of fear. There was always this inbuilt confidence that kept telling me, you're going to make it, you're going to make it, you're going to make it. And I think when you say that core value, what was that core value? I think it was the confidence that my father put inside of me, because it was really his dream to see me wear the India colors. And just that value of confidence took me or got me here today. So
that's amazing. Well, confidence is a very elegant virtue. So not having elegance, and I actually think you're bringing up a wonderful topic, which is that the elegance that we have in our mindset of, it's like, especially the way you hold yourself and the way you walk, is actually the way in which you your existence,
That's
right?
right.
And your existence, for you, it's confidence. And that's
Yeah.
amazing. That's a
Yeah.
huge, elegant virtue.
But
And
also I think inside I'm quite like all the time I'm just like angry, or I'm just like, or not angry anymore, but I used to be. I think
Yeah.
life has just toned me down. But like
Yeah.
my internal, like, when you say the word elegance, I
Yeah.
didn't have that in me.
Mhm.
I was just very outrageous. I was like very boisterous. I was very loud. Even though I was quiet, but I was really loud when it mattered.
Yes.
I wasn't just screaming around for the sake of it, but I knew how to stand my ground. I knew how to stand up for people. I knew how to stand up for myself. So I needed that little bit of, in that, what you say in this Bombay language, they say bindas.
Yes. Yes.
That was me.
Yeah.
Like, just like, didn't care about
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
else. It was just me, and anything I did was gonna be fine, or it was right.
With what do you think has shifted? Because you say you're not like that anymore.
I think the death of one of my students a few years ago really shifted that very outrageous kind of personality into a much calmer woman, or coach, or an athlete, or just also a daughter, or a friend. Because losing her was like losing a body part. Yeah, she was my first student. When I didn't want to become a coach. She really forced me to become a coach. So that relationship of 10 years that I had with her was really special. We were like mother, daughter, sisters. We became family more than just client and trainer.
Right.
Losing her just made me realize that everything around us is just, it's like dust. It'll go one day, including this, But what won't go is the memories you make with people and the time you spend with them in the time that they're alive. I think that made a huge, huge impact on on me as a person, me as a character, me as a personality. Everything just started becoming calmer, softer, more. I became, I think I've always been a giving person, but I started giving more. Which is where also Project Fit Girl started coming into play more and more, because I wanted to do so much. I always feel time is so short. I mean, looking at Seher's life, I feel like 37 years, you didn't realize where they passed by. So every minute you live, or everything you do, should be done fully, and you should be satisfied in that day, moment, and time. Like me sitting here right now talking to you, it could inspire 10 other women out there. That's what matters, that you did this today. This is a good deed, because eventually your deeds take you wherever they take you next, and not what you wear or how you look or what you say. It matters what you do. And that was a really big shift for me.
Yeah, it's a big shift. I mean, that's a very important one. And I think when we connect, I mean, there's a lot of growth there, huge amount of growth. Unfortunately, usually it happens in those pivotal moments like that, which is very human. We were talking a lot in this place about humanity, right? It's a very human condition, if you will, to have this growth, to have this awareness, maybe a little bit more self-kindness. Sometimes our aggression, or sometimes this drive part comes from, yes, we want to achieve, it's mindset, absolutely. But sometimes it also is not necessarily giving ourselves that grace that we need to give ourselves. And sometimes life teaches us that we need to.
That was me, actually. That was me. I don't think I took myself very lightly. I was always super serious about everything, be it my running, of course, because it was such a big goal, right? Like, you can't just even think about the Olympics if you don't know what it means to be there. And my coach used to always say that you have a lot of courage coming from a country where you don't really see Olympians coming out, to be even able to talk about it so openly and courageously. He says that's in your mind, you're already there. Like, I was always there. Maybe physically I didn't have the capacity, or I think I was, like I said, I was a bit of a brash athlete. I was all over the place at one point. But it does kind of, when you hit rock bottom, no matter what, be it my accident or be it losing someone, it's when you keep hitting rock bottom is when you realize that all that, over smartness, it won't work. It doesn't work. You don't need to be that person. So
that's amazing. I mean, you're talking very much about Success Decoded there. Let's talk a little bit about that, about you being the fastest girl in India.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
That's 30 years ago.
But still, we're going to go back there. We're even going farther back. Okay. So how did your love a relationship with running start? Inspire people?
I didn't have any didn't have any ambition as a young kid, I was really naughty. Again, I was kind of hot-headed. I was super naughty, actually. So naughty that I feel like that part of me is still there today and it'll never leave me. So I'm usually naughty with my niece also, and my sister's like, you need to grow up, she's your niece, and stop acting like a child with her. But like, I'll still do childish things, like naughty childish things. But
I'm sure she loves you for it, though.
I
That's
think
the
so.
thing.
I think that's why also all my kids who I train love me, and they don't like to like leave, because I come down to that level. That child in me will never die, because I just know how to relate. Like if I'm having an adult session with you, like when I'm training you as an adult, I'll be an adult. But if I'm training a kid or children, then I know that to understand that mentality, which my coaches didn't, I need to come down to their level, because how do you understand what's going on in that child's mind as a coach if you've never been there?
Yeah, absolutely.
And have been there. So I know how to,
Absolutely.
But like those are two different kinds of childish behaviors.
Yeah, but I
Sometimes
think-
it's really childish naughty.
Yeah,
So-
but I think at the same time, like you're talking about a huge success decoded here, which
Yeah.
is that you need to be flexible. You
Yeah,
need
you
to
do.
make sure that you understand what you're trying to achieve, your objective,
Yeah.
and you work backwards almost. Like you cannot, like you just said, speak to an adult.
Yeah.
And like you're going to speak to a child with
That's
the same
right.
naughtiness. That's not going to be
right.
effective.
Yeah.
A lot of people, if we want to take it outside of running or coaching, they get into this mindset of it's like a one fit all kind of thing,
Yeah.
or what they're trying to do or what they're trying to achieve, and they're not actually meeting the human where they are, which
That's
is what we
right.
talk about a lot here.
Yeah.
And you were successful
Yeah.
because of that. That's
Yeah.
one way you were successful, many
Yeah.
different ways.
Yeah.
But you got into running.
I got into running because I was in a boarding school when I was young. So I had epilepsy when I was born. And because it was not getting better, the homeopath said, why don't you put Ayesha in a boarding school where it's cold? And my attachment to my parents was really strong, like so strong that even if we had to walk from one room to another, I would be holding my mother's skirt or her nightie or something. So
Yeah.
that was like I always say, the umbilical cord between my mother and me is just not been cut, with that attached.
Yes.
It's like we have a love-hate relationship now, but it's still that I can't do without her, she can't do without me kind of a situation. So the doctor said this was not a healthy relationship, and my mother needed to find that kind of balance where I would grow up a little without her also and still have her. So they put me in that school, and honestly, initially I hated it because I didn't want to be away from my parents. But once I got into the groove of it, I never wanted to come back because that school made me. There was no pressure of studies. It was a Krishnamurti Foundation school, and there's just no pressure of studies there. I mean, you have to study, but you also have a lot of time to do artwork, to do drama. You'd make pots. And you'd do this batik work, like mixing colors and stuff. It was really nice. And you can just play in the ground whenever you want. So I think the teachers knew my illness, and they were never hard on me. In fact, all of them took great care of me. But they also just let me be. They said, you want to go out and play badminton in the middle of a class? Go for it. And I loved it.
Yes.
But then there were some issues around the state of Tamil Nadu around those years. And my parents got really worried that I might get kidnapped. So they got so scared. Within 2 years of being in the school, they picked me up. And I think that's, this is a really strong word to use for them, but I hated them in that moment in time. And I was like, why did you do this to me? I loved that was probably the first time in my all of 10 years, I found a space where I could be me. And I think over years, I learned that my space is always going to be nature. Like if you told me to work in an environment like this, no, I would kill myself. I never ever got around to working in an office. I worked in a gym for 6 months. It came to me like I was going to be claustrophobic. So I knew my space was outdoors. And when I moved back, the school that I was put in is a family school, activity high school. The principal said, oh, why don't you put Ayesha in sports day? So my dad said, yeah, she'll run sports day. And the first race I ran, actually never run in my life. We just played sports in boarding, but I'd never run in my life. So my dad said, this is an athletics race. You'll be standing in this lane and all you have to do is run fast. All he ever said to me, till the last race, he saw me last year at this time, actually, when he saw me run my last race, he just said, don't look left or right, just run fast. That's all he ever wanted out of me, was to run fast. And I said, yeah, okay, I'll run really fast. And I started the race, and I was in Red House. Started the race, and I didn't know where the finish line was. And I have reached the 50-meter mark, and I stop, and I turn around and see, and then these girls are just,
Barely making it.
hopping, like hopping at the back, and my entire house just stands up, and they're all screaming, "Aisha, run to the finish line, run to the finish line!" And I didn't know where I had to go, so somebody came to that line, and these girls are still not catching up, which was so weird when I think of it. That I wasn't super fast, but how slow were those girls when they were running? And then I won the race, and I think not in the same, I think probably in the seventh standard, in the sixth grade, when we moved to a different. So in the sixth, when you come in the under 12s, you run the 200 meters. Now on the 200 meters, the track is, it's dotted, and then the line goes straight. So I basically didn't know that. We were not doing any training there, Savio. So I, in fact, came when I was in the seventh grade, my first coach. And the 200 meters was on a dotted line, and I didn't know that I had to run it through the line. I cut through the line and I went into the first track, and I got disqualified. And the other girl, Aradhana, I remember my classmate, when the prize distribution was on, Dad and I were sitting in the stands, and Aradhana got the championship. And I cried a lot, and I told my dad, that's the last time I'm ever going to lose a race. And then for 10 years, from that day on, I never lost a race.
Okay. Amazing.
Yeah, because I hated losing. I still hate losing.
Yes.
Like I hate losing in anything. But I'm not out there to beat other people. I'm not there. Yeah, I'm not competing with anybody else. I want to win for myself, because I think over all these years, if there's one thing, maybe that's what I told myself, if there's one thing I'm really good at, is running fast. And then when I retired from competitive athletics, which was a few years ago, and I was really disappointed and so disheartened that I spoke to a friend of mine. She's a reporter, and she said, "Why do you think that the only thing that defines you is running? Look, the impact you've made." By then, Fit Girl had already kind of blown out of proportion, and women were like inspired or looking up to me, and all that never mattered to me, because all that mattered was the Olympics. I didn't look beyond. Anything that was happening around my life was just meant to happen the way it is. All I wanted was the Olympic medal. I didn't look beyond that. So she said, look at the impact you've had on so many people. You have more to give to this world than just wanting to be an Olympian. So
yeah, absolutely. But there's so much mental resilience in there. I mean, just the focus. For example, focus is mental resilience. When you're being able to focus on something, this is a lot of my clients struggle with focus. Like, how do you get somebody to focus? This would be a great Success Decoded for everyone. When you have all that going on around you, and for 10 years you didn't lose a race, you said, right?
From the time I was about 14 actually. I won my first national gold medal at 15. But be it a state meet, city meet, I didn't win quite a few nationals, but through the state, like the state of Maharashtra, I was a champion for 10 years straight, up until I was 27.
Amazing. So talk a little bit about the mental resilience, because I think that we think about physical resilience in sport, but really the mental resilience is amazing. So talk to us a little bit about that.
It's really simple. I just wanted it bad enough. Like, I don't have any long story to cut short. It's just I wanted it bad enough. So bad that I was willing to go to any length. I mean, I went to Australia to train. I went all the way to Ethiopia to train with Haile Gebrselassie. I went to the US. I went to train at UCLA. I was willing to train with any coach, in any stadium, in any country, if they were going to take me to the Olympics. That's the madness I had. And if you're not obsessed enough to want to win there or to want to represent your country, I tell people, don't do it. It's not a walk in the park.
Right.
It's it's a lot of sacrifice. It's a lot of commitment that my family put in with me. In fact, they, I think, put in more than me. It's a lot of you don't have friends, you don't have a life, you don't have social partying days, no boyfriends. I had my first boyfriend when I was probably 28, because it was not even on my mind. It's not what I wanted, all I wanted was an Olympic medal. I mean, how hard is that?
When you had any setbacks in that period, even though you had like laser focus on it and you were fully committed in all aspects of your life, did you ever have like imposter syndrome or any feelings of like, any doubt at all?
Never.
No,
I don't doubt myself. Why should I doubt myself? I'm really good at what I do.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
I wish we could bottle this mentality and be like, okay, now take this and take this with you. Okay, it's amazing.
So that accident.
Yes, the accident. I would love to talk about the accident.
The accident was a time when I was told that I will not be able to run again. And it was a pretty kind of, not life-threatening, but it was an accident that I think I suffer from that impact of the car that hit me, the
Yes.
impact I suffer till today. But when I trained in Australia, Gavin always told me that you will need physical therapy for the rest of your life if you want to continue running at this kind of intensity. He was right about that, because there is only this much the body can heal and how much the body can take when you're in such a high competitive sport. So in the time when the accident had happened, obviously right after the accident, I had a lot of external bruises on my left leg, which we healed through Ayurveda. And of course, my first thought was that, will I be able to run again? But Savio sir just said a really simple thing to me. And he said, if you want to continue running, just sleep on your back, because I was mostly bedridden at that time. Sleep on your back and just do cycling in the air. You know, like how we do cycle crunches?
Yes.
He said, just do hundreds and hundreds of cycle crunches in the air and you'll be fit. And I used to do 1,000 plus in a day. I came out of that accident within 6 months. I went to represent Mumbai University at the All India University, and I stood in the top 5 in the All India University. Yeah. So, but that was the maximum I could push my body through that hip, which was not aligned, which I didn't know also back then. It's only after that nationals did I learn. Out. Yeah, no, that is when the pain started.
Oh, the pain.
Yeah. The sciatic started hurting and back was hurting, and we just couldn't figure out, because all this while we kept thinking it's an external injury. Till I met my bestest friend in the whole world, John Gloucester. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
Yes.
Yeah, John is just, he's come into my life like a miracle man, like a miracle human. Like, I don't have enough words to thank him, because if it wasn't for him, I would have never met Gavin. Gavin, who also then changed my life for the better. I think I am this athlete today because of what the values that Gavin gave me. And also John has just been, he's been my rock. You know, there's no way I would have come this far financially, emotionally, mentally. Also all the physical help he gave with this physiotherapy. You know, back in the day, we didn't have any great physios in India. John, Heath Matthews, these were the only guys who were actually working with athletes. And he was really my support system then. So, you know, he encouraged me to go to Australia. He said, I have a friend, would you like to go train with him? And I was so obsessed with going to America, because, you know, everything was American. Alison Felix was American.
Everything.
Michael Johnson was American.
Exactly,
Marion Jones was American. And, you know, I just wanted to be the next Kathy Freeman. So I said, I want to go to America. And he said, oh, you like Kathy? I remember him saying, you like Kathy Freeman, right? So you should go. And I didn't know she was Australian. He's like, then you should go to Australia. I said, no, but Kathy Freeman's American. He said, no, she's Australian.
She's Australian.
And what's funny is, in my first year, 2010, when Gavin finally agreed to train me, he said, I'm going to take you for we have an all-stars track meet happening, and it's really big. It's the 10th year of the Sydney Olympic Stadium, because 10 years had gone. And he said, I have a little surprise for you. And he takes me to the track, we're watching, and then guess who comes out on the track?
No, she came out.
No, not her.
No.
Usain Bolt came out on the track.
No.
And I was just, my jaw dropped.
Oh my goodness.
And
I can only imagine.
When you see somebody who you admire or you look up to, in that moment you don't even have that excitement, because your heart is just like
stopped.
Yeah. Your heart is like, and I'm like, no, this can't be real. And he was so, I think one of the highlights of my career, forget all the running, was just meeting Usain Bolt.
Yes.
And I'll never forget that experience, because it was brief for 2 minutes. He finished the race. It was one of those fun races, He finished the race and he walked around the track and he met every single person, even on the back straight. He met every single person. And when he came towards us, my coach said, Ayesha's traveled around the world to come and train in Australia, and this is a big moment for her to meet you. And I couldn't remove 2 words from my mouth in that moment. And all he said was like, you're going to make it. He just said, you're going to make it. And I'm thinking to myself, this guy doesn't even know me. He said, I'm going to make it. I mean, this story I've never shared with anybody, because it's been so personal to me. With all the athletes, I mean, I've met Haile Gebrselassie. We've chatted a lot. I've met Mo Farah. I've met big athletes, I've met Carmelita Jeter,
Mhm.
you know, you meet these athletes and you realize why they've reached that position in their career, because they're so humble,
Mhm.
you know, and because their drive was exactly what I have,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
That's why they can, I guess it's an energy thing. Either
Mhm.
they feel it or you feel it. I know there's something in this,
Absolutely.
there's
No,
something
absolutely.
going around, like
Mhm.
why did I meet all these people in my life, you know?
Mhm.
I didn't need to meet them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there
So
definitely is the energy thing for sure.
yeah,
It's definitely, I think you can also recognize in others what you see in self,
yeah,
you know, and there
yeah,
is an energy that comes from
yeah,
that.
yeah,
There's also I think you can kind of see mindset a little bit, you know, so
yeah,
maybe he
yeah.
also,
I hope so.
also saw this as well. If you were hearing a woman that was doubting herself, what would you tell her?
Firstly, I would just pick her up and tell her that you're enough.
Mhm.
You don't need someone to tell you if you're good or bad at anything. You are enough just the way you are.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter what strata of life or society you come from.
Mhm.
The way you are, where you're born, is you can change your life the way you want to change it.
Mhm.
You don't have to depend on someone. You don't have to rely on someone. It definitely doesn't need to be your husband, your brother, or your father,
Mhm.
even though that's where a lot of young girls are held back.
Mhm.
But yeah, I just want women to know that they are good enough for themselves,
Mhm.
you know, and that's all that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah,
They
they
don't
are
have to
enough.
be someone to please someone,
Mhm.
and they don't have to be someone or pretend to be someone just to be out in the world. I don't think that gets anyone anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure that throughout this, especially when you were physically injured, so mentally you never doubted your ability
Yeah.
to achieve, right? This
Yeah.
never changed. Physically, maybe you were having some fears that it wouldn't be like what your brain already knows.
Yeah.
What did you tell yourself to get through that?
You know, I think through my athletics career, I've never had that kind of fear. I think the point you just said right now, I had that fear when we knew that we were going to lose dad. We knew about 3 weeks into taking him into the hospital that he was not going to make it. That was fear.
Okay.
Because he was such a strong figure, not just a father figure, just a really strong figure in my life.
Yeah.
Um, Probably like an angel figure that you don't realize it when they're around you. But when you know they're not going to be around you, or suddenly they're gone from your life, is when you realize the void. And that is fear. The void is the fear, that I don't want that void, because having him around is my safe space, right? And the safest space, honestly, for any daughter in this world is their father, right? You can agree to that as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
that safe space for me was like, it was shredding slowly, slowly, slowly. And that fear is what I had to live with these last few months. And I had to keep telling myself that, you know, you're independent on your own. Your dad's made you confident. He's made you independent. Even though my parents were slightly controlling, more controlling, I would say protective. You know, they always wanted to be hands-on with everything. But there came a point when they had to let go. And I think that letting go was fear for my father. You see, fear was so subtle
Yes.
that his fears sometimes became my fears.
Yes.
And when we knew that we were going to part, because he didn't know that he was going to die, we couldn't tell him that. But we knew it. So there was fear one way. His fear was not, his hope was that he's going to live. But we were kind of fighting between hope and fear constantly.
Yeah.
He's like, when I get out, we're going to do this. And, you know, we're just trying to tell him, yeah, we're going to do this. But deep down, in your subconscious, you know that there's nothing more. He's never going to, and really silly things come to your mind, right? Like, he's never going to go to the market to get another packet of chips for you, or he's never going to go to this place to get this for you, or he's never going to come for another race with you. You know, those kind of emotions would keep coming while just sitting in the hospital or thinking about what's my life without him. Even though you know you're so independent in your life, there is still a subtle dependency that you have on your parents, no matter what age you are. It's just human to be dependent, because you know you have that figure behind you who's there to protect you. You know, even if they're 80 or 90, you still know your parent is still alive and is there behind you. So knowing that was fading away, and somebody who had played such a big role in my life, I think that was the maximum amount of fear, or the biggest fear I've had in my life.
You had a very big upheaval of three core principles of human beings. What we all need as humans is to feel seen, heard, and safe.
Yeah.
And he made you feel very safe. All
all
of them, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And so that's a huge. I mean, that's very unsettling.
Yeah.
It's very disruptive. And that's a process. And so this is a very good thing for if you want to talk about being successful as a human being, as an athlete, yes. And I would love to talk a little bit about your current project and also about the past projects as well, is you have to, that's all been turned upside down. So what have you done? What could you give as advice on, everybody's journey is different, right?
Yeah.
But there's definitely some key takeaways of what you went through, either emotional resilience, your mental resilience, your process, maybe grace, maybe some of that grace that came up. What was it for you?
Again, I think it was a lot of breathing. And like I said, when I went to Goa, a lot of healing. I needed to be there. I think that was a weird channel that was directing me to go to Goa. I was in fact invited there to conduct a session, and I was really hesitant. I was like, I don't want to go. I didn't want to socialize with people. And then something just said, forget it. You'll have only one session to take, but why don't you maximize going for other people's sessions and think of it as a holiday, like a paid holiday, basically.
Yeah. That's hard as an athlete, though, right?
Yeah,
it's hard. It's hard when you're so laser focused and driven to even consider it that way.
Exactly.
To see it like that is difficult.
Yeah,
it's a mindset.
That's right. And I went there, and I after the 3 days got over, I thanked the organizers and I cried in their arms. They just couldn't believe it. They, that healing spaces can be life changing, but for me, this was that complete flip. Like the coin had just flipped for me. And I think that's when I really started appreciating death, like how we have birth, happy birthday, happy, whatever other day, I don't know what it's called, sorry. It's not, I don't know, do they say happy death day? There's no such thing as that.
No, I don't think there is.
Happy first anniversary, or
I'm not even sure. I think it's like somebody's passing, but I'm not even sure. I don't even think we frame it that way.
Exactly,
it's not
but why do we frame it? Why do we not frame it? Because why is it happy birthday?
Yeah.
Right? Have you ever thought about it? And Sadhguru said this in his book, actually. It was really nice. He said that, why do we mourn over people with whom we've made great memories?
Yes.
And why do we have so much joy when someone comes into our life when we've not even met that person?
Yeah, exactly.
So why are you so afraid of death, or why are you so sad when someone goes? Because think of all the good memories. That's what you were born for. You're born to make those memories. So when I think a lot of through the healing also, I got a lot of my answers. Again, that self-talk was really nice.
Yes.
Going into the water at the beach was nice. And just being around people who were really positive and who also had life-changing moments for them were there. I think that trip was really, again, like I say, it was a flip of the coin. And when I came back, I think it was, I was unstoppable.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you healed whole self,
Yeah.
I
but
think
before I went there,
yes.
And that's, I think, something important that people should know, that death can also, if you don't understand death fully, or if you don't understand failure fully, it can make you into, your darkness that is inside you. It can come out in a really dark way, in an evil way. I saw that within myself. I saw that with the way I was behaving with people. I think I became a little vindictive. I became a little evil. I was rude. I was arrogant. And some people started calling me out for that. And while I was aware of it, and I knew that I was doing this, in my subconscious, I was angry. I was just angry that, why my dad? Why him? Why now? Like when I'm living my best life, why did you take him? So that anger was something I couldn't deal with.
Right.
And I don't think anybody sat me down for therapy or made me talk. It's just that entire energy of that space in Goa where I went automatically answered all those questions. And just talking to absolute random people, many people I knew, but many random people, just made me realize that this is all part of that process, and being angry or showing some form of authority or anger or vindictive, say, words or behavior
Mhm.
towards people is not going to change how life goes on.
Mhm.
And you need to accept that all the time.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. I mean,
And
grief
that,
is a journey, right?
yeah,
We think it's a
exactly.
feeling, but it's not. It's
Yeah,
a journey.
yeah.
And it's a process, and everyone's process looks
That's right.
very
And
different.
not many people understand that. And I always tell them, of course, everybody loses a parent at some point in their life. That's just how the law of nature is.
Yeah.
But I always I did have some not so nice encounters with people. And in my head, I thought they'll not understand it till they don't lose their own, because that's just how life will. Either
Exactly.
you'll take it really well,
Yes.
or you may not take it well. And I didn't take it well. So
Yeah.
as much as I tried to hide all those emotions, and I immediately, within the first 10 days of him passing, I was back into work. In fact, within the first 5 days, I was back into work, because also we've been conditioned like that in our
Yes.
house. My grandmother passed. My father was there for the funeral. After the funeral, he went to work. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of conditioning we've had in our family, that life goes on. But how do you process those emotions?
Yeah.
Because they never process their emotions.
Right.
My parents, my grandparents, whoever, aunts, uncles. It was just about, you've got to be in the rat race all the time.
Right.
But do you process those emotions?
Yeah.
Do you process grief? Do you process happiness? Do you process his pain?
Right.
Do you process his life?
Yeah.
There's so much to process after a person is gone, right?
Exactly.
Just think about it. It's not
yeah.
even been a year,
Yeah.
and I'm still processing the time that he was in the hospital, which was 35 days of complete, it was devastating. We need to cope with
trauma.
that.
There's a
we
lot
need
of
to
trauma.
cope with that to then come to terms that this person's not with us anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
And the thing is that you made a conscious decision to focus on that. You
Yeah.
made a conscious decision to open up that wound.
because if
that's
I
the thing.
don't, you know why? Because if I don't, I'll be like many other people who will press their grief for years and years and wallow in that grief. And more than that, it will affect their entire existence around other people. And I don't want to be that.
And their health.
And their
And
health,
their physical health,
exactly,
mental
exactly.
health, emotional
You
health.
see how people start gaining weight after somebody passes,
Yeah.
passes away. They start eating rubbish. They stop exercising. They
They
stop
get-
looking out into the world, right?
Yeah.
No, that's not how life should go on.
Yeah, but that is a very conscious choice to make.
That's right.
It's a very hard one to make for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But usually there's something that's that tipping point. So the coin that flips.
Yeah.
In this case, it would probably be, I would say, is you're around people that have a shared energy.
That's right.
That have been through grief or through
Yeah.
loss or through healing.
Yeah.
But they have chosen
Yeah.
the same thing.
That's
Whereas
right.
they showed up there.
Yeah.
Maybe they weren't fully conscious. Maybe they had
Exactly.
different levels of consciousness
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
But they showed up. Which if they showed up, it means that there's the possibility of
Change.
right? Of
Yeah.
change, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a part of success
Yeah.
in change. Change is, if you want
Absolutely.
to achieve something, you have to have usually change.
Yeah, and
So
change is constant.
change
right?
is constant, yeah. It's one of the only things that's constant,
Yeah.
right? And I think, but fear, again, gets in the way of our change. And
Yeah.
so it's like, it's a battle. You
Yes,
kind of have to go back and
yes.
forth. So I do want to quickly talk about, because I want to talk about the Project Fit Girl, okay, a little bit, yeah. Can we talk a little bit about that? And I guess, why start it, and where is that? It's continuing now. Yes, it's a big project.
In fact, after Dad's episode, I've actually done no work with Project Fit Girl because I was too scared to leave the city more than anything. I didn't want to leave my mother alone. And I dived into too much work in the city. So I started taking on more clients. I started working with kids in the city. And not that I'll ever forget Project Fit Girl. Not one day.
Tell us a little bit about it for everybody that doesn't know. I know, but please, everybody else that doesn't know.
Project Fit Girl is actually a sports education program that I started in rural India. Just because I wanted young girls and boys obviously came in a little later with realization, but for girls to give them the independence, to give them the confidence again. That very important seed is confidence, and just give them something as simple as doing a yoga session with them in the morning can change the way they start thinking about their bodies, their mind, their life. So it's a very simple sports education program. It's not a PT class. It's not physical training only. Through the entire education process, and it's not a class textbook stuff. It's all on field, all on ground. There's no great structure to it, but I know exactly what I want them to do. I want them to run. So they understand why running is such a great cardiovascular activity. I want them to do yoga because yoga is is in our culture, it's in our roots,
Oh, yeah.
it's in our
Thousands
soil,
and thousands of
thousands,
years.
5,000+
Exactly.
years. And why is it not valued so much in our country when the Western world has taken it
they're
out
taking it
and
over.
taken it to a different
Yeah,
level,
and they're
right?
taking it not necessarily in the right direction
Exactly.
either, but that's
Thank
okay.
you for saying it.
Just gonna
Thank you for
just gonna
saying
put
it
that
out
out there
loud.
because it's not about the outfits and everything else. It's
Yeah.
about ways. It's yoga is a
It's
way of being.
inward.
It's
exactly.
inward. Yeah, it's a way
that
of being.
voice that you need to find.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yoga is one big part of it. Strength training to let women know that it is important to strengthen your muscles.
Yes.
And while a lot of young girls who come from rural India are already very strong because of the kind of
The
lifestyle they
yeah,
lead,
exactly. They have to.
but
Yeah.
it's beyond that. Strength is beyond just working in the fields or going to school and cooking with your mother.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of mind training. So
Yeah.
we make them play games. We do a bit of martial arts as well because
Yes.
I'm trained
Discipline
in
is fantastic.
I'm trained in Tai Chi, I'm trained in Kalaripayattu too. So for me, giving them all the tools that I got as an athlete is really important. So it's a very simple program. I mean, a lot of people ask me, so what's the next step? You want to be an NGO, or are you going to approach this one? Are you going to approach that one? And I'm like, Project Fit Girl isn't about how far I scale. It's about how wide I can scale with how many children I get to work with. And if I can work with, say, even 100 children in a year, that's success to me.
Yeah, that is success.
That is success to me, because those 100 children will go out into the world maybe 10 years later and inspire another 100 people.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the legacy you have to keep carrying on. You know, you'll never always be on the, you can't always do everything with the norm of how society wants you to go. Oh, you're doing this. Wow. Now next step, become an NGO. Oh, NGO, now you're going to need funds. Oh, funds means you need numbers. I'm like,
no,
it's too complicated.
Yeah.
I don't need that stuff.
It really depends on the objective that you want to achieve,
Exactly.
right?
And my objective is very clear.
Is to change lives, right? This is what I would think. And you're actually making generational change because you're working with women.
Yeah.
And because women bear, I don't want to say it's a burden, because as a mother, I don't think it is one, frankly. I think it's the way society positions it often.
Oh, it's positioned here.
Yeah,
that's
that way.
Not many other countries.
Yeah, but I think, as if you're educating a woman about what I hear you're doing and what I've read you're doing through this is, yes, it is the sport and it is the mental acumen and things like this, but you're actually giving them a way of thinking, a way of intention. So you're giving intention to what they're doing.
Yeah, that's a nice word.
The intention is what we're doing. When you give somebody intention, you give them a lot of power because it's inside out. It's a yoga part. It's the inside out part. And you're also going to then, even if they don't ever go into sport or they don't do any of these things, they will potentially raise a family someday. So they are going to give that to their children.
That's right.
Yeah. And their communities. Yeah. And so that's grassroots in the most effective way, right? So that's your objective.
I was always very clear that Project Fit Girl was not about bringing out the best athlete in this country or building the next Olympian. Because not everything, I learned from my own life, not everything is about the Olympics, right?
Yes.
I mean, my passion and craziness and madness, of course, drove me to this success where I am today. But people can find success through different modes of things or careers in their lives.
Exactly.
And my job is just to give them that confidence. Somebody wants to be an artist or a dancer or a singer or a builder or a painter. They don't have to be an athlete. But if sport can change that mindset for them, then why not?
Exactly, because it's that's the intention and the empowerment of it. Already empowered, but the power that you're giving them, right? So I would say that, yes, okay, being an Olympic athlete, amazing. Being so successful and so accomplished in the athletic field, fantastic. But probably even more so, is the power that you've given to empower others, which I think is a huge thing. Talk me a little bit about what you're doing now, the project you're working on now, running the club, I believe you said.
The athletics lab.
The athletics lab, yes.
I started the athletics lab because I wanted people to come and run with me. I was looking for running partners. I was looking for running partners because a lot of people in this city don't like running with me because my training is really different. So anytime, any form of training I'm doing is because of all my learnings and understanding from the coaches I've trained with in Australia or America or Africa. So my methods of training are really kind of out of the box, and not many people appreciate that kind of training. So I said, let me start off and let's see who comes. So there were a few who came, then a few more, and then a few more. And then some left, and then the others left, and then a few more came. And you know how the box just opens and closes, and closes. But even if it's just 10 of them at one given time in a class, every single person in that group is going to go back feeling good, feeling strong, and not injured. That's my first goal, is that they will never never my clients will ever get injured.
Yeah.
That's what I told myself, that don't be the coach that your coaches were with you.
Yes.
Be the coach that Gavin was with you.
Yeah.
Gavin was the person who taught me what real coaching was.
Yes.
If it wasn't for him, he always said coaching is like parenting. If you're not coming down to the level of the person, you'll never understand what parenting is.
Yeah. So you're a conscious coach. Yeah.
think
Like
so.
conscious
Yeah.
parenting, conscious
Yeah,
coaching, which is
exactly.
amazing. And this, honestly, I mean, again, your accomplishments, your achievements, fastest girl of India,
Yeah.
like all those things, fantastic. But really, I believe, I mean, personally, maybe as an emotional coach, but also maybe very for spiritual person, that I do consider myself to be spirituality a very big part of my being. This is what I see as your impact in your journey is this, because this has huge amount of impact.
Yeah.
Your journey for self was the Olympics. That was your journey for self. Your
Yeah.
journey now is so much broader and
Yeah.
wider than that. And it's really
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah.
So here's a fun segment of it. This has been really fun, period. But okay. So what is one race that you'll never forget?
My first nationals in Bangalore, 2001. My first nationals, my first gold medal.
Okay, amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, a fitness myth you wish more people knew wasn't true.
You don't run with your biceps.
Okay. Interesting. Your favorite way to unwind after a long day?
My favorite?
Way to unwind after
Oh,
a
watch
long
TV.
day.
I
Watch
love watching TV.
Yes. A lot of very focused people like to do this also because
Yeah.
it's like a turn off.
Yeah,
like
because you're
it's switch
so
off.
busy, your
Yeah.
mind is just doing one
Exactly.
thing all day.
Exactly. A book that changed your perspective on life.
Abhinav Bindra's book, I think it says A Shot at History.
A Shot at History.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of this one.
Yeah.
I also, Sadhguru also, I love his books as
Who's?
well. The guru that you mentioned before.
Oh, Sadhguru. Yeah, that's a good book. It's really intense though.
They're
It's
very
quite
intense.
deep.
It is, yeah. Your go-to mantra for staying motivated?
Meditate.
Meditate. Yeah, me too as well. The best piece of advice you ever received?
The real meaning of fear. Forget everything and run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get everything about it. What's the one thing about you that would surprise your followers, or anyone actually?
What is the one thing that would
Surprise your followers or anyone actually?
I'm actually really lazy.
Really?
Yeah.
In what way?
In many ways. I just don't talk about it or
Yeah,
show
yeah.
it. But
Yeah.
God, if I had to just sleep in my bed all day, I would.
Yeah,
Or
but
just
that's
watch
balance.
TV all day and just eat junk and eat my gummy bears.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be the life.
Yeah, but that's the balance to discipline, right? Sometimes you're like, you've made a choice
Yeah.
to live a certain way, but
Yeah.
this is the flip
Yeah.
side to
And
it.
sometimes I do that on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And then on Monday, I feel like absolute crap.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, oh, why did I do
Why
this?
did I do
My
this?
body is not used to
Exactly.
this.
My body should not be doing this to myself. Well, thank you so much. I can't tell you what a pleasure this
Yeah,
has
I
been, how
had
much
fun.
learning.
Thank
And
you.
just, I mean, to really get behind the success, we definitely decoded here today. You
Yeah.
gave our viewers an amazing amount of information
Thank
and
you.
tips. So thank you so much for being here. I
Thank
really
you so
appreciate
much.
it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank
I
you.
had a great time.
Thank you. Ayesha, your story is nothing short of inspiring, and your commitment to turning passion into purpose is a true testament to your resilience and heart. You've not only shaped your own success, but you're actively shaping the futures of so many others through Project Fit Girl. You've shown us that success is about far more than just winning. It's about empowering others, especially the youth, to realize their own potential. As we wrap up this episode, I want to thank you for sharing your journey with us. We hope this episode has left you feeling motivated to tackle your own challenges and pursue your dreams, no matter how difficult they may seem. Remember, success is not about where you start, but about the effort, consistency, and the lessons you take along the way. Thank you for tuning into Success Decoded. Until next time, stay inspired, keep pushing forward, and remember, success is not just a destination. It's a journey uniquely yours to decode.